Hey, this is Mike from Junkion Crafts and Builds, and this is the impressions video for the Marvel Legends 85th Celebration Superior Spider-Man. Now, I got this at my favorite local store, All Time Toys in Sykesville, Maryland. Jason and his team do a fantastic job keeping that store stocked. Their customer service is amazing. You can access it at their website, alltimetoys.com. Check them out. You won't be disappointed. So I will admit I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan in regards to some of these more recent stories. I never really followed the Superior Spider-Man storyline. I wasn't a big fan of it, nor am I a big fan of the writer, Dan Slott. I find him kind of repugnant. But that's besides the point. You know, just like some of the processes for Hasbro, I can have an opinion of a company or a person, but that won't stop me from looking at a product and finding enjoyment with it. I can separate that. Others, that's on them. So again, we're not going to boggle too long here on the packaging. We've seen this new simplified packaging across the board. If you're looking for the UPC, there it is. So with that being said, let's just get him out of the box and start playing with the Superior Spider-Man. And is he really a superior figure? And here's Superior Spider-Man out of the packaging. And we're going to go through the accessories first and foremost, because he does come with a fair amount of stuff and it's something that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get right into that. First thing we'll talk about are the two head options that you have. The first one, which is the default one here, has this really cool design. It's really an interesting, and they try to do something cool with this in regards to having the cityscape kind of reflected in the eyes for the mask. It's a cool concept. Some people may like it, some people may not, but that's okay, because we also get an alternate head that has the eyes as an all white. It's more like a pearlescent white here. But of note, like, these are two totally different molds for the heads. They're not at all identical. You can see there's more of a space in between the eyes on this head versus this one. This is kind of the more, maybe you say this is the more fierce or aggressive one, but this one definitely is different. And I wanted to note that because as this one's a little wider, especially across the bottom of the jaw and everything, they sit differently on the buck. And I'll show you that here in a second. With this being a deluxe figure, we also get alternate sets of hands, which is a great addition and something we don't normally see in the Legends line. So here we have, out of the box, a pair of default fists, and they are black plastic, but the red on them, it's actually nicely painted. It's a good contrast, and it actually closely matches the red here on the body. So not too bad. The second set is a pair of whip hands, which to most Marvel Spider-Man collectors, this is a godsend now, because a lot of times you'd only get one whip hand. To have a pair of them, I'm assuming, is really cool. One thing I really wish this would have come with, and this as an evergreen figure for the Legends line, I don't know why they don't do this. It would just make sense. Include a web line at the minimum as an accessory, because you have these really cool whip hands, but you know what? You got nothing to show for it. Now, I know that they put some into other Spider-Man figure releases throughout time and everything that the Legends line has been going on, but honestly, it should be something that's standard. I mean, it's like Captain America should always have a shield. It's his signature weapon. It's something that is a part of him. Spider-Man has webs. Give him a damn web line. Anyway, he has one more set of hands, which we'll show next. The third and final set of hands that this Superior Spider-Man comes with are these emotive hands, set in like a clawed, shape, but obviously you can manipulate it that he could be holding something or someone. He's got these really sharpened claw looks. It reminds me of Spider-Man 2099. It's neat. Again, sharply painted, matches across the board, and it gives people a lot of variety. The next accessory or set of accessories we're going to talk about is his backpack. Now, he will come with two, as we'll show with the next one, and this is to kind of house the mechanical arms that Superior Spider-Man. It's a nice kind of more metallic-y, shiny red compared to the matte, darker red of the body itself. And you know, it fits in on the back here on these 3 posts. And I said it was a set of backpacks, and this is the second one, and this is the one that you're going to use to attach the articulated legs, but it also has 4 ports. It's a little thicker on the back. His final accessory is he has 4, yes, 4 articulated Waldos, basically, you know, 4 legs that attach to the backpack on the body. Now these are all the same swirly red plastic that we saw with the backpack. And like I said, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 articulation points. And we'll get into, like, you know, the articulation later on here in the video, but I will say that these do concern me just because it is such a thin plastic, and it feels, you know, it's pliable. It's not gummy. It's not classified weapons, but the port here is a very small piece. The detents for all these joints are, for the most part, ridiculously tight. I had to manipulate these around. But yeah, we'll put them into the backpack later on when we start going through articulation. So let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetics of this figure. And like I said, while I'm not a big fan of the storyline, looking at this as a toy, as a product, it's not a bad looking thing at all. Highlight, of course, is like the design of the spider webs across the top of this body, and the printing process on this is really sharp. I dare say this is one of the nicest looking Legends figures I've held in a while. Again, everything about it is really nice. The black plastic is a matte color here, and I think that's a really smart move, because as the matte on here is smooth, you know, the plastic feels nice. The way the light reflects off that black to really highlight the sculpt, it's a really sharp look. I think it's a really nicely built figure. Now with build, and I'm no expert of Spider-Man at all, but from what I understand, this is a reuse of One More Day. That version of Spider-Man, which for Legends has been considered like the premier Spider-Man in regards to articulation, that's in the legs here, from what I get. The upper part, the arms, I'm not sure about at all, but fortunately, the upper body is a new sculpt to accommodate the backpack. Again, he's like, here, show the arm. You know, his body itself, the upper torso is really thin. So, you know, if that's your idea of Spider-Man, that's cool. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying it looks a little smaller to some of the other Legends figures that I've seen and held. The kind of helter-skelter spider web design is really, really nice. And they actually continued that up here in the ab crunch. So they continue the print all the way up through there, which is good. There he is from the back. We have these gauntlet pieces, which I guess on the older version of this character he didn't have. And these are just glued onto the forms. They're not going to come off or anything. So let's just go ahead and roll into the articulation. And of course, we're going to start with this head. So with the head and articulation, as I showed earlier, it's on a ball hinge here. So you can get up fairly far. So I mean, he can definitely look up, even with the sculpt of the head here and like the thickness of the neck. So that's not bad at all. Head, of course, 360, and because it's a ball hinge, you're not going to get a lot of pivot out of this, which is fine, I think, for this version of Spider-Man. Again, this is Dr. Octopus, so he might not give that quizzical, you know, offhanded look with his head. So he's much more, I think, straightforward with it. But let's try it with the alternate head. And here he is with the alternate head, and it really changes the silhouette just because of the different shape of this mold. I'm not sure, like I said, you guys can tell me in the comments what version of this head for Spider-Man is. I'm not sure, but you can see, like I said, the jawline is a little broader across here, and with that, it sits differently on the ball peg here. Again, there's that look up, so I mean, you still get a fair amount, but it fits differently on the ball peg. It's much tighter. As you can see here, like I'm putting a little more force just to get the 360 on the head, so you can look down really well. So I mean, that's the benefit of a ball hinge. I mean, you could do the ball peg into the torso with a ball hinge as well to get more of that range, but I think, you know, what you get here works. Now with this head, it's much easier to pop off the hinge as you start leaning back. So we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of the review with that default head. So of course, we're going to get a really awesome T-pose, and we get a little bit above that here with Spider-Man. We also have a really, I'd say it's a decent butterfly joint. You can definitely get back fairly far, and you can get him to come across a combination of the other joints and get that cross hand swinging pose if you wish. So again, you know, this is going to be standard stuff, 360 around. We've got the biceps rotation here. We have pinless double jointed elbows that give you that much range, which is pretty good. Swivel. All the hands, which I didn't mention, have horizontal hinges to go in and out. So there's that. We already kind of looked at the ab crunch a little bit, but you know, unlike some of the other ones, like the, what was it, Final Fight or Shooter Spider-Man that just came out in the last wave, he just has the U joint here for the ab crunch, no inverted, but we have a waist swivel, so that means you can get that far down. Of course, the back looks disgusting when you get to that point, but that's why you're taking photos and angling it so you hide that. And he can go back, basically breaking his back in half. But again, you get this, you know, follow on to the deco all the way up. And again, soft detent ratchet for the waist swivel. Gives you all the articulation you want. We have drop down hips, which gives you a nice substantial range here, because you can lift him up and those legs go up really far, as you would expect. If you pull both of them down, here we get pretty much a split. You can do the Van Damme, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, high kick up before it starts going to the side. So that's good. There we get the thigh swivel, pinless double jointed knees. We have that calf cut, which I wish they would have brought it a little lower down, because when you're cutting it across the, you know, a muscle group like this, as soon as you start twisting it, you get that really ugly sculpt. If you just lower it a little bit more, then where this is more symmetrical, that's not going to be as noticeable. I know other people have pointed that out for figures like this, but I mean, that just, for Spider-Man, it should be lower, in my opinion. But what do I know? Toe articulation, right, up and down. Ankle articulation, we can go down that far, up that far, and you've got your pivot here. So all the main articulation points you want for your Spider-Man. So now we're going to get into the main event of this figure, which is one of the big draws, is that, you know, he's got the legs that come out of this backpack. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you what I have been doing. I'm not saying I'm going to be the expert with these legs, but yeah. So here's how they are out of the box. You can see like the design here, all the top part of like the legs and stuff are down here at the bottom. What I was looking at when I started to manipulate that, and he did fall, you know, like I said, all these detents are really tight, but you can get a curl like that. You can also rotate it if you wish, if you want to try to get a little bit of a closer pose here. So that's good. All right, I like that. My concern is here. Like I said, this is a very small piece of plastic, and the detents on here for the joint, if you're manipulating it, get it in a position, then plug it into the backpack. Okay, so I want to put these curves here on the bottom, and they're just going to slide in. Now, again, be careful as always when you're pushing stuff in like that. Like I said, these small pieces, I would highly recommend holding it as close as you can when you're putting it into the backpack, and then holding it here at this joint if you're going to do any manipulation. And again, just be careful. Don't move. Don't try to rip it around quickly or you're going to break it and get pissed off. And there we have the Superior Spider-Man with all his Waldos exposed. It's a really neat concept. The execution, not the greatest. Mainly because, like I said, I get concerned about small pieces built like this. You start manipulating it around. The more you mess with it, the greater chance of something is going to break. But again, 4 points of articulation, and when you fully extend these things, they are pretty substantial. For him going out here, I mean that's a fair amount of reach across this entire display area here. So he can definitely, get some really cool poses. I know that there's the prerequisite positions that we're supposed to kind of mimic here with him, and I know some of the common criticisms in regards to trying to get those is just how small of a footprint these Waldo feet, so to speak, are, and that they're not that it's hard to support the entire weight. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not doing it here. I'll try to get some photos to show a little bit better, but there's an idea of what you're looking at with them. Cool concept. The execution, maybe, I don't know if a little firmer plastic would have been good. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comments your thoughts about it, but it does really mimic the look of the comic book for this character. For comparisons, here's some of the other releases that have come out celebrating the 85th, and one of the more articulated female bucks that have come out last year. In regards to the Black Widow, we also have the Astonishing Wolverine, as well as Carol Danvers as Warbird. Again, a lot of improvements that we're seeing here across from Hasbro in regards to some articulation points. But again, there's some parts that hey, there's something new and it's really good, but then they forget other things, or they make some decisions that I really question. Some of the proportions in that are still a little wonky across the board. That's just my opinion. You like what you like. If you think these are all fantastic, I'm with you 100%. I'm glad you enjoy them. And with a little bit of a bigger character here, we have the recent Target reissued Red Hulk. And to kind of show a little bit more of a size comparison here, we have the Superior Spider-Man next to the Valaverse Bone Collector 2.0. So let's just go to final thoughts. Final impressions of the Marvel Legends 85th Celebration Superior Spider-Man. I do have to say, the figures I've gotten from this celebration line so far have been relatively good. Not perfect, not without flaws. And as a product, that I want to purchase, it's one of those, I wanted it, and it does satisfy that itch, because it was really cool to see the Waldos and whatnot. Some things I wish, they wouldn't do, meaning the Marvel Legends team and Hasbro in and of itself. But this is not a bad figure. Proportionally, like I said, he's a little thin for my taste. It also fits in with the character as Peter Parker. The storyline, like I said in the beginning, I didn't really follow it, but I do like the design of the Spider-Man suit. I like the frenetic hecticness of the spiderweb, and the printing on this figure is really sharp. Accessory wise, I think it's a good amount of accessories. The fact that you get 2 heads and 3 sets of hands is really nice, especially when they're all matching. 2 thwips, 2 fists, 2 sort of emotive hands should be a standard for an evergreen figure like Spider-Man. Same thing with Wolverine, Captain America. I mean, they make Iron Man figures every 2 weeks. So, I mean, there are some things that should just start coming with these characters. And a thing that is sorely missing from this Spider-Man, and any sort of Spider-Man overall, is a web line. Something that, you know, you can put here on the wrist, have it come out. You can redesign the Spider-Man arm to have a little bit of a gap, kind of like the imports, where you can kind of slide the webbing, the pin area in the forearm, and have him shooting a web. So when he actually has a web hand, you're really actually using it the way it should be. That should be a standard. This one here, again, my concern is with the Waldos, mainly because to me they feel a little fragile. The joints, the detents are a little tight, my feel for it. And when you try to stand him into a spot where, you know, the legs are supporting him, supposedly, that's not always the case. I think they should have been made of a little bit of a stronger plastic. Maybe they should be a little thicker. Again, I don't know. I haven't really delved too much into how this character is supposed to look. But if you're looking for that menacing pose with having these extra arms, you're going to get it. I think it looks really cool. I'm not going to tell you how long it took me to get this pose right here, so I want to do this real quick before he does fall. The legs are really annoying. The Waldos cannot support his weight. You can see him moving right now as we go through this. So for 30 bucks retail, this could be something that a lot of people are going to complain about, and I wouldn't blame them. These Waldo legs, the articulation points on them, the detent and the manipulation, it's going to take a lot of finesse and a lot of patience to get some of these iconic poses that you remember seeing in the comic book or anything along those lines. It's very frustrating when you're trying to balance a figure on 4 of these little tiny points, so to speak. So I'm going to try to take as many pictures as I can of this guy in this pose as best I can. If you are in on Legends and you're in on Spider-Man, you like the Superior Spider-Man, you're going to buy this. It's been 10 years since the last version. There's a lot of improvements to this body with the reuse of other bucks, as well as the new sculpt to hold this gimmick here, you want to say. Like I said, the aesthetics, the paint job on this guy is really nicely done. The printing is really good. I like the whole idea of like the alternate heads, even though they are 2 different head sculpts overall, and you're going to get different articulation limits with either head, depending on which one you use. If you like the pearlescent white of a common Spider-Man, or you want to try to use this little, cityscape for your photos, whatever you want to do. I have them. Will I keep them? We'll see. The legs are really a frustration point for me right now. So I'm going to leave it at that with you guys. Let me know in the comments, are you excited to get the Superior Spider-Man now that he's really starting to come out? Was there any influencers that sold you on it from the jump? Was it just the whole idea of having this figure? Do you like Superior Spider-Man? What's your favorite version of Spider-Man? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please share, like it. And if I've earned your subscription, thank you so much. I'm humbled by it. We have a lot of really cool things set up for the remainder of the year. So with that, thank you once again for watching. We'll talk again soon. Bye.